lawyer here. Got a little cold I'm getting over. Anyway, I was asked to talk about actually living with T&O in the organization that they set up. That was initially that we never really went by, but as like a we never had placards or anything. But T&O initially called their effort Human Individual Metamorphosis, HIM, Human Individual Metamorphosis. And anyway, so within that group, I was asked if about their cleanliness and different things about the day-to-day operations. And I'm going to just speak to the cleanliness aspect, because T was occupied a vehicle that was a nurse. So many of the things that we did had that kind of standard and that kind of operational organization. For instance, we had but the person asked if we like clean the walls with bacterial soap, and like were we neat freaks, or were we, well, yes, there was a neat freak action. Everything was orderly, everything was in its place, everything had a place to be put. But remember, this was a community within a house and within a campsite, so we didn't have trash laying around. Everything was clean and neat. And we took a bath every day, not a bath, but when we were in tents, we took a sponge bath, where we had 2 people to a tent, and we had a divider in between. We put up a blanket so that we could both take our baths at the same time. We had a stove that was in between us, that the blanket didn't extend over the stove. It was a propane stove. So we got up in the morning. The first thing we did was put the stove on. Also took the chill off, because sometimes we were living in a winter environment, camping in Wyoming. So we heat up the water, and heat up the tent, and then we'd do a quick bath. Now baths, we call them sponge baths, but it was bath time. And everybody did this in all the tents. And then we and the bath would last for about 11 minutes, 11 to 12 minutes, and that was going to the design of T&O. They used it because that's what they did. They took sponge baths, and they knew that if they worked quickly, that they could get everything they needed to be done, which included shaving. Every day we shaved, the men. I don't know if women shave their armpits. I don't think so, but or their legs. I don't think so, unless they had a job later on in life where they had a job, out-of-craft task, we called it, to where they had to wear a dress, which did actually happen at first in a few cases. Although we ended up not taking jobs that required females to wear dresses. Anyway, but I don't know about the grooming of the females, but the men were, everybody was taught to cut the nose hairs, so that the nose hairs don't hang down, and basically, be shaven every day. And we all wore our hair shortish, sometimes a little bit over the ears, like similar to the same way that T&O wore their hair, but not exactly the same. It depended on the person's hair. Some was longer and some was shorter. It was, but we had internal barbers that, learned from T&O how to cut hair if they didn't know how before, because Do seemed to. I don't know if T knew how to cut hair, but Do, I believe, did. Anyway, and basically everything would be vacuumed every day. The bathrooms would be cleaned every day with Clorox, and there was a routine for that. It was a bathroom crew. The showers would be cleaned every day, so we were definitely conscious of keeping bacteria down, and especially when anybody came down with symptoms of sickness, which we did have. We didn't have a major sickness that I'm aware of, but I would have been aware of it, which is another subject. I could talk about all the different things that people, individual students, experienced. I'll save that for another video because I want to stick to the clean aspect of this. For instance, in the NutriLab, what we called the kitchen, we had different names for everything, which helped with our having a new start on new programming, new brainwashing, washing our brain and putting in the new material that was only what came to us from our older members. We were trying to be like them in every way, but they didn't tell us to be like them in every way. They just gave us procedures that were their behavior, were the way they did things. And they didn't tell us that. They didn't always tell us that that's the way they did things, and that's why we got them. The procedures came about gradually as we asked questions and as they saw problems, and then they would give us the way that they handled things as a solution to the problems. So, so no, we didn't clean the walls with bacterial soap. We didn't have those hand soaps that were, you know, bacterial cleaning motion. They didn't go through any of that. And we did have a lot of health interest in our diet, and especially after T left. Though we did fasting on fruit juices, and we're into the Christopher diet, the mucusless diet, Arnold Ehret, his materials. We did some fasting on apple juice and lemonades. The Burroughs cleanser, we used that. They ended up using blue-green algae, but said it was too expensive, so they didn't continue with that. We did the Ann Wigmore diet, the Hippocrates Institute dietary program in Boston. We actually sent members there to be a part of that. Whatever T and Doe did, and Doe after T left he did it in a top-notch way, but never to what I would call an extreme. Of course, some people would say it was an extreme to bathe every day. Okay, and to go over your entire body, by the way, with soap, with a washcloth. They wanted you to operate fast for a number of reasons. One is because that's a time when you're naked, so the programming can kick in that would be a time where you would caress yourself or potentially masturbate. And so by limiting the time there and giving you so much to do and making you do it quickly, because there was a schedule of somebody coming behind you that was going to take the place, you didn't have time to you know, really think about doing anything else. So that was a way in which they also used technique to have a protection mechanism that we can impose upon ourselves. If we want to stay away from masturbation, we can impose protection mechanisms like that. Find out the favorite times that we have for doing that, but if we end up you know, giving into it, whether it's at night or wherever, at this point, I think it's not to make an excuse, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And there's a certain amount of off the top, like Doe said, when we had a nocturnal emission, just consider it to be the energy off the top. That we try not to do things to stimulate it, but Doe even had a nocturnal emission that he told us about. He said he had at one time in 1988 or 9, and that's a story in itself that I do need to tell, but I'm going to try to stay on topic here. And actually, maybe I've said enough. But we actually did have dishwashers and we did use very hot water, and it was instruction procedure to sterilize every glass and to wipe the edges of things, and to we didn't use our fingers, we used gloves, but we didn't wear gloves in the lab, in the kitchen. We just washed before everything, but if someone was sick, they wouldn't be in the lab. They wouldn't have duty if they were blowing their nose constantly. And if they were, they would have to wash their hands after they blew their nose. And so, like I said, there were precautions taken, but not to extremes.